Coming up on the show today, we celebrate all things dragons, plus a D&D podcaster gets in trouble. Daggerheart is imminent. Tragic news for board games, plus lots more positive news, commentary, and discussion along the way.
Are you ready to get casual? Grab your favorite adult beverage or combustible plant and join us for our roundtable TTRPG discussion. Oh yeah, it's time for Casual Friday. And now, here are your hosts.
Hey, how we doing? I am Jen, that's Ryan, that's Brad. Hello everyone, let's get into it. So this is Casual Friday, and this week was Dragon Week. Woo. And if you remember, last year was Kraken Week. Was meant to be a parallel to Shark Week, even though I don't think they came out at the same time. Maybe they did. I think last year it was in July. In the summer last year, yes. Anyway, moving on. This year, the same organizers, Ginny D and Pointy Hat, did Monster Week. They've changed it to Monster Week, which I think is going to be that's just the annual ongoing theme going forward now is Monster Week. This year was Dragons. So a bunch of creators hoping to get their chance to step into the limelight did videos about dragons this week. And you might have seen this logo everywhere. Whoops, hold on. Why can't I?
They did a good job. I don't know who's responsible. I think it's Pointy Hat. I don't know who did the logo, and I should.
Yeah, you can see it in the Dungeon Dudes video right there. And also, I don't know why, but this, but Mike's Super Geek Mike's thumbnail just really tickles me. The Godfather fixing. I don't know what the Godfather has to do with fixing D&D's dragons, but I find that very amusing.
Gonna have to watch it and find out.
Yeah, top to bottom. I recommend. There's a lot of gold. There's a lot of gold in these playlists, and Mike did a good job. Peter's I did not finish because I had to slide in right now. It just came out, but ooh man, does he bring weird body horror stuff? Pointy Hat did the logo. Thank you, Jenny.
Hey.
What's up, Jenny?
Thank you for clarifying that. And hey, welcome to the show. So why don't we talk about? You guys want to tell me what videos you made for Dragon Week? Because I know you both made videos. I made one too, but somebody tell us what you did.
Well, I did Dragon Impact. I took the dragons' regional effects and extrapolated those out into world building, how you can theme your world building around the dragon himself. So I gave one example for each of the chromatics, and yeah, which fit perfectly with Ryan's, which was all about.
So I wanted to try to help everyone get the most out of the 1,000 ideas that they gained this week from everyone about how to use dragons, how to get more out of the dragons. So the best way I could come up with helping people do that is by telegraphing, getting the dragon out earlier before the big boss battle. So I wrote down a ton of ideas, reached out to a ton of people. Those awesome people took a lot of my ideas. So I had to rewrite the entire script that I was proud of. But it was awesome. It was so cool. There are 12 people in that video. You might think it's easier to get other content creators to do your video for you. Turns out it's a lot more work.
Not so much, huh? Not so much.
But it was a lot of fun. So cool to be working with everybody, and just it's the spirit of the community. It's in D&D and it's in the Dungeon Tube, Dragon Tube universe, and it's kind of the best part, man. Just getting to hang out and meet and share ideas with all these interesting, cool people.
Yeah, I feel like Kraken Week opened up a lot of content sharing and interaction. At least for us, I think it did. We were the three of us were already kind of doing some stuff together, but after Kraken Week, it felt like that energy of working together and collaborating, and that spread. Since then, we've done collaborations, I think, with a ton of different folks over the past year, and I think Kraken Week was a huge contributing factor to that. So again, props to Ginny D and Pointy Hat for making all this happen. It's been great.
This collaboration right here between the three of us started because Ryan saw one of my videos and reached out to me. And he reached out because I had stolen his idea and it kind of made him mad, but he still reached out to me. I preemptively did a video he wanted to do, and he was like, okay, respect. And then so that's how we got where we are now. It was just that. So, if you like something a creator makes, reach out to them, because it could turn into a company with a satirical name, like Landlocked Warlock.
There's a crooked line between like that National Parks video and me being like, I'm going to make a game show, and then Cracking Week being like, yes, this is so much fun, and kind of the downfall of the Vertically Table as far as YouTube channel goes, because the numbers ain't there. The algorithm doesn't like it, but I sure do. It's good for humans. And I don't know. I went Team Human this year. We'll see what I do next year.
And as we've always said, our goal is to be your YouTuber's favorite YouTuber. That's what we're aiming for. So, do you guys have anything else you want to share about Dragon Week, or should we move on? We do have an action-packed show, lots of things to get to.
Yeah, I just wanted to call out a few highlights. Like I loved the "Dragons Are a Girl's Best Friend" song that Jenny did. Oh gosh, now I'm drawing a blank on her name. The actor singer who gosh, I can't think of her name right now, but Jenny collaborated and did this awesome "Dragons Are a Girl's Best Friend" song. Riker from Cleric Corner, his video stood out to me. And I definitely enjoyed Delver with his history going back to Smog and Fafnir. So like that was really cool. Some really cool stuff.
Delver's history videos are fantastic. If you missed it, he was on the show last week.
That's right. Because somebody wasn't here.
Hey, I was too busy making my feature in Delver's video, where I admit to not knowing something about nerd lore, which is a very dangerous thing to do publicly on the internet. I really struggled with that. I don't know. Yeah, Super Geek Mike and Peter's Tales from Elsewhere were really good. Mystic Arts DM Dottie did the Tiamat very well. I mean, everything that dude touches is like tops. I think the highlight for me was Delver's video where he's like, "This is the woods where all the YouTubers hang out," and he yells and bobs down the hill. And I was like, that is peak. That's it. He won. I think that was Monday morning too. I think that was like one of the first things I saw. I was like, okay, you win.
Strong start. Yep, strong start.
That was brilliant. All right. So moving on to the next thing we are going to discuss. There's a podcast I listen to, a D&D podcast called Dungeon Master of None, and I don't think it's ever broken out into the major leagues, but I've been listening to Matt and Rob do their podcast for at least 5 or 6 years, and they have a Patreon. They don't really have any kind of YouTube presence. I think they have some episodes that are with the visualizer thing. I think YouTube can do that automatically for you now. If you throw up audio, it could do a visualizer. So like for your audio podcast. I think so. I think YouTube will do that automatically for you now if you upload audio and tell it to make the thing.
That warms my late millennial heart. Sorry.
I loved Winamp. Just changing skins. You could spend an afternoon doing that. Anyway, so Dungeon Master of None, this podcast, they have music interstitials in their podcast. They would talk for 10 or 15 minutes, and then they have like a 30-second music break and then come back. And I assumed they were doing this because they were like live streaming, and this was like a uber quick pee break. They each had a little bottle probably next to their desk, and they could go during that 30 seconds. But
don't give away our trade secrets.
Sorry. They've been doing this for years. Well, anyway, earlier this week, they put out a 2-minute episode called Regarding Spotify, where they talked about where one of them just popped in to say, hey, you may have noticed that a very large chunk of our catalog has completely disappeared from Spotify. And it said, we were including copywritten music and we thought it was fine, but it wasn't fine. So now they have, and it wasn't all of them. It was just the Spotify bots found certain songs, removed them, and they're like, you can still get it all on our Patreon and some on YouTube, although YouTube will eventually find it and demonetize them. And so the reason that I wanted to bring this up is just to tell you kids out there, if you have ideas, if you have notions of making content, don't use other people's stuff unless you are legally sure you can. Because, they're not in any legal trouble. They're not going to get sued. They're not, the RIAA is not coming after them as if they downloaded an MP3. But because they didn't do their due diligence, now if they want to restore those episodes, somebody's going to have to do a bunch of work. Completely avoidable work, like with my with my videos, I write my own music. I write stuff all the time, so I just have a big library that I pull from and throw in there, so I'm golden. I have no worries about getting demonetized or copyright struck or anything like that. But what about you guys? Do you use music in your videos, and how do you operate that way?
I just use music from YouTube, like there's free stuff you can actually also buy from YouTube. I just use their catalog so that I make sure that the music I use is, legally, viable. I have played around with movie clips in my videos, and that did get one of my videos demonetized. So it's still up there. I just not making any revenue off of it. Not that I make any real revenue off my videos yet, anyway.
Yeah, there's a few movie clips in my Dragon Week video, and I did not monetize it. That's my gift to you, the community, in case you've never seen Jurassic Park or The Hobbit. I don't know why. It's not very magnanimous of me, but I recently, in my interview with Homie and the Dude, we had some technical difficulties. I don't know if the Russians hacked the undersea cable or whatever. It was an international call, whatever. Sorry, trigger warning. I found the clip from The Simpsons of technical difficulties, which plays "It was a little Spanish fleet," because that was like the funniest thing I could think of. And that got my video smacked down, which is why if you're a YouTuber, upload your thing, let it percolate for a while, because sometimes you're going to do something stupid like that. But I have put things that I legally purchased the license to in a video and then still gotten a copyright claim. So it's an imperfect system, to say the least.
For sure.
And with the SRD coming out now, we've had a lot of conversations in the last week. I'm working with a couple people. Twin Steel is in the chat talking about it. We just had this conversation. Just because what you're doing is perfectly legal doesn't mean you have the time or the money to prove so in court.
There you go.
Cover your ass.
Yeah, and well, Simpsons is owned by Disney. So Disney is extremely litigious with copyright. And so if you're going to clip something in a video, check. Is it owned by the mouse? Don't use it. Don't use it if it's owned by the mouse. I've gotten in trouble with HBO. I did a video about Sovereign Reign, that HBO show, which I thought was like just a brilliant out of the box D&D setting. So I made a video about it, and in the video is just the trailer with no audio and me speaking over it. It's just the trailer repeated several times, and I got copyright claim. Not the bad one. Strike is the super bad one. It's claim, I guess. They just demonetized it. And it was the first time that happened to me. It was a weird process because there were two separate claims on it. One was from Warner Brothers and one was from HBO. And I petitioned. I said, hey, I'm using this. I'm only using the trailers. It's all publicly available stuff anyway. And HBO released their claim. The HBO was like, that's fine. And Warner Brothers didn't. Warner Brothers decided that wasn't good enough. So I still was not able to monetize the video, which is really strange. I don't know why couldn't they talk to each other? come to an agreement,
get a consensus.
I'm not a lawyer, but that is fair use. But again, good luck proving it.
Yeah. In my Witches and Hags video, I used a couple of Disney clips. And they were super short, right? They were just a few seconds, but one of them, instead, like the video clip I used was like maybe 3 seconds, but I used a little more audio to like lead into the scene and lead out. So I was using about 5 seconds of the audio, and that got me. Thankfully, I hadn't made it live yet, so like Ryan was saying, I had already uploaded it and let it sit there for a little bit. So I was able to go in and edit it and then re-upload a different version with less of that audio in it. In fact, I think I took all the audio out, just used the little 3-second videos clips and put a different music that, was YouTube appropriate behind it.
Yeah. What is true matters less than what you can prove in court. All right, moving on to more fun and light stuff. Where this episode is going to be a roller coaster. We're going to go back and forth.
Pacing, right? It's like
Exactly.
your D&D session.
Here comes the upbeat of the episode. So we decided for Dragon Week that we would talk about our favorite dragon memories from a campaign that we ran or played in. And who would like to go first?
I hinted mine in my video, so I will do it quickly. In the way I run my game, a lot of the time I have a random encounter table, which I know is a touchy subject. 2d6, it's a bell curve. You roll snake eyes, bad things happen. And it's not per level, it's per like tier, essentially. So I've had level 2 players roll up the black dragon from the bottom of from Forge of Fury. And it came down, and it's a CR. I want to say it's CR9, CR10, and they were level. They didn't have subclasses yet, so it's like, okay, this could be bad. It saw them, landed, and was like, "You guys got any gold?" And they're like, "No," and it rumbles deep in its throat, and the gold shakes because it has like the capacity to hit the frequency that makes gold harmonically resonate, and it took all of their treasure and flew off into the sunset. And then like, all right, I'll see you guys in 6 levels, and it's going to be so much more satisfying. So yeah, they hate me for that, but they also love it.
Yikes.
That is a great way to introduce dragons. I had a DM do that to me. This was back when we were kids, like middle school. My friend Rob did the same kind of thing to our party, and I was the cavalier who was carrying all the treasure and lost all my gold, and I was furious. And unfortunately, we never got to finish that game, so I never got to track that dragon down. But yeah, it's brutal. But one of my favorite dragon stories was from a sandbox I was running with like multiple Sword Coast adventures all kind of crammed in there. And I had introduced this NPC named Alara. And she had this, wispy, breathy, voice. And she talked like this and told the players all these stories about dragons. And it turned out that she was a dragon hunter back in the day. She's like an older woman. She's got a scar on her face and an eye patch, bright silver hair. And she just became a favorite NPC as she told all these cool stories about dragons at the tavern. And then I kind of foreshadowed that maybe she wasn't like fully honest about stuff when another group of adventurers came in bragging that they had killed Venom Fang and they had the dragon skull. And she calls out those adventurers that's you didn't kill Venom Fang. Cryovane killed Venom Fang. And of course they get mad at her, and the players jump in to defend her, and they're eager to fight, right? So they get into a fight with these other adventurers and never realized that Alara, had played those adventurers, right? And then she eventually tells the players about this elven blackroot, this weed that grows in the forest that is poisonous to white dragons. So they go on this quest, gather this poison, and they eventually, the artificer makes like poison grenades, and the rogue, poisons all his crossbow bolts, and they sneak into Cryovane's lair, and they get the drop on the dragon. They shoot it with a crossbow bolt. They throw a grenade at it, and she sits up and turns around, and the dragon has this big scar and no left eye, and she talks in this wispy voice, and it's Alara. And they've been totally betrayed by her. She set them up, and it turns out this elven blackroot that they poisoned all their stuff with actually helps recharge the dragon's breath weapon. So she had played them for like multiple sessions worth of time, and set up the boss battle with this cool plot twist. That was probably one of my favorite moments as a DM.
Well, my story is not as epic, but it's one I think about a lot. So I think it's probably the most important dragon story to me. I'd taken a long break from running and playing tabletop games, and I came back to it a little before the pandemic, after 5th edition came out, and I was running Lost Mine of Phandelver for my next door neighbors, and I was feeling very, very rusty when I was running it because it had been a long, long time. I was feeling very out of sorts. I didn't really know the adventure very well. But in the quickest way possible, I'll tell you, they go to the town and they find out there's this the bandits are in this living under this manor, right? But then they leave, so they know this is the problem. They have to deal with all these bandits, but they don't want to go in there. Then they leave the town and they go up north and they meet the dragon, Venomfang. And they're chatting with Venomfang. I'm thinking they could be allies. They don't want to fight it because it's very powerful, but very soon they come up with this idea of, hey, dragon, why don't you go down to this town and breathe your fire into this hideout and take care of this problem for us? And I was like, okay, yeah, roll a persuasion check. And they rolled very high. And I still said no because I panicked. I shouldn't have let them roll, but it came out of my mouth anyway. And I should have either not let them roll, or I should have gone with it, or I should have come up with some kind of bargain that if you do this for me, I will do that for you. But I didn't. I just panicked. And so I still think about that all the time. Think, don't call for a roll unless you're prepared for them to get the natural 20, because that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And also be better about rolling with changes if it's not something that I had planned, because that was completely opposite of my plan. How do we get videos on the Dragon Week playlist? If you're not in the Discord, is there a way?
If you tag them, they will find them. They are Jenny D is everywhere. She was just here. Hashtags are not that great on YouTube, but that's one thing they are good for. So I would put Monster Week and Dragon Week, and I'm pretty sure that will get you where you want to be.
Yeah.
Good luck to you. If you have not seen my video, it does feature Twin Steel. If you wonder what the mysterious person who leaves all the comments looks like. And yeah, he may have won my video. His idea is dope. No spoilers.
Well, so that was my favorite dragon memory. Now moving on from dragons to dagger hearts. Nailed it. Nailed the transition. So if you don't know, now you know that coming up very soon, Daggerheart will be joining us in the world. It will be born on May 20th, 2025. I don't know anyone that has an advanced copy. If you do, I hate you, because I really, really, really wanted an advanced copy, but was not able to get one. But anyway, so what's happening is they've organized lots of Daggerheart launch play events where you can just kind of show up, and they will have game masters who supposedly know what to do on this web. This is on darringtonpress.com. On their website, they have a whole list. They say US, Canada, Puerto Rico, UK, Europe, Australia. Unfortunately, there are none near me in Colorado. Colorado Springs and Gunnison. What are you doing? Why not Denver? That's ridiculous. Anyway, so if you are curious about Daggerheart, you could just show up at any of those stores on May 20th, and someone will run a game for you with the intent that you will be leaving with the core box set in your hands. I decided not to go with the insanely expensive collector's edition of Daggerheart. It was like 3 times as much for a GM screen and some tokens and stuff that I didn't really think was worth 3 times the price. But I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on this, on events at game stores, launches, this kind of thing?
I thought you were going to talk about how Daggerheart accidentally got released early in Australia and New Zealand. Did you hear about that?
I did hear something about that. It was pulled down pretty quickly, right? I don't think it got widespread, or did it?
Yeah, there's people who actually have copies of the game. But the Darrington Press handled it really well and just made a public post asking everybody, who got a copy in Australia and New Zealand to just, be discreet and not show it early. They just politely ask everybody to not show. They didn't I guess there's not the Pinkertons in Australia, but they they didn't.
As far as you know.
They didn't overreact like some other companies we've heard about and are talked about on this show. So yeah, but I thought that was interesting that they seemed to handle it very calmly and didn't make a big deal out of it. And apparently the community folks who did get early copies have, respected that and kept it quiet.
Oh, well, I didn't know a lot of that. That's very interesting. You heard it here first, folks. Breaking news. Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, the hobbits haven't woken up yet. Fred and Nacho, I guess, are not in chat. It's early still.
Yeah, I believe if Fred and Nacho were here, we would be hearing about Daggerheart copies. But I didn't realize it was so widespread. But I don't know. I am in the Discord for my friendly local game store, and I've been thinking about I'm gonna gauge interest about running Daggerheart at the friendly local game store. I think I would like to do that this time around.
I'll tell you what, Jim, if you do that the right way, you might get that early copy that you want. It sounds like if they were putting on all these, actual plays down in local game shops, you might, if you're willing to run it, they might give you one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I already paid for it, so I don't need another copy. But yeah, that's true. I don't know who these GMs are that are running it, but somebody, there were beta copies of the final release, I think, with art and everything, that went out in November or January, and I tried to get on the list and I could not.
I am watching Daggerheart, not because I have, full disclosure, haven't played it, don't have a strong opinion about it. I've watched a lot of Critical Role, enjoy it. The contender for number 2 game, or the Dragon Slayer D&D replacement game, seems to be Shadow Dark, surprise dark horse contender, but oh boy, Daggerheart has not dropped yet. It seems like a lot of people don't think that CR is going to switch over to it, but in my mind, why not? But who knows? I think that Daggerheart could be a much bigger deal this time next year.
Yeah, they should switch over at their main campaign. I don't know if they will, though, because a lot of the Daggerheart species are kind of silly. It's got a lot more whimsy. It's sort of like all those tales of the animal whatever things that have been coming out the last couple of years on D&D Beyond. Where you can play as a kangaroo and whatnot. Daggerheart has a lot of that built in. Also, it only goes to level 10. So I don't know. I am insanely curious to find out what Critical Role is going to do with campaign 4. We've had about 6 weeks of filler stuff and random mini campaigns and things. I hope they switch over. I don't think that Daggerheart will dethrone D&D. I don't think Daggerheart will dethrone Shadow Dark. I think MCDM will probably sell more, or Drawsteel will probably sell more than Daggerheart. I think Daggerheart's potential is with siphoning off theater kids from crunchier D&D tables. Because Daggerheart is, I have played it and I've run it, and it's very story forward. It's more story forward than D&D is. It is more a theater kids game. It has crunch, it has stats to track, and it has abilities and stuff. But I think if that turns out being true, everybody wins. Right? Yeah, I think everybody wins. I think there are a lot of theater kids playing at Grognard's table, and no one is happy that the other people are there. And so this gives,
inside you there are 2 wolves, and one of them is a theater kid,
and the other is quickly becoming a Grognard.
Yes.
This Grognard loves theater kids at my table, but I'm a weirdo, so there's that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Phil Kearney with my favorite quote of the chat so far. I'm going to say this and one day, and I hope I give you credit because that's dope. I bet you stole it from someone too, but that's cool. This is art. This is how it works.
You master your fear, or your fear becomes your master.
Well, and I think I wonder if that's actually like kind of where the hobby is going, right? Is like maybe not literally a killer version of D&D. I don't have that much hope or trust in WotC, but I feel like, as people often say, there is no wrong way to play D&D, right? And I think where the hobby is going is there's all these different versions that are very D&D adjacent, from Shadowdark to Daggerheart to DC-20 to Draw Steel. The the Brandon Sanderson's game. I don't know why I can never remember the name of that game. But I think all those games give everybody a different opportunity to play the game the way they want to play. And I think that's really what's good and healthy for the hobby. So you have those story-driven folks playing, Daggerheart. You have the dungeon crawlers and the rules light OSR folks playing Shadowdark and old school essentials, right? And you have the crunchy hardcore folks playing DC-20 or Pathfinder, right? And you're gonna have Draw Steel, and then a big group of folks that still play WotC's D&D. And I think that's healthy for the hobby, that there's all these different variations on the same thing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Choice is healthy for the hobby.
Yeah, and maybe we'll get to the point, I don't have much hope of this either, but, I would love it if we got to the point where, like, everybody was just okay with that.
I'm confused why we're not. I am. Sounds like you guys are. I don't know. Chat, is that cool? Is that okay?
Exactly. Exactly. What will the jocks play? The preps, the goths, the greasers, the stoners.
The goths are playing Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah, there you go. 100%.
What about the preps? Yeah, exactly.
Chicken beat up your edition.
Yeah,
exactly. Did nobody watch Breakfast Club? Did nobody see that? Like, we're all the same. We're supposed to, just get along.
Yeah.
But how will I know what to wear if I don't forge my identity based on something? I just had to process this one out loud. Okay, Billy Joel music. I missed the music notes.
Everybody's talking about the new sound. Funny, but it's still rock and roll to me. All right. So moving on to the next thing that we're going to talk about is what we're going to do right now. That's my purred happily. So we talked about the roller coaster at the beginning of the show. Now we're going to go back down to a downbeat. And I was just sharing in a Discord that we were all a part of yesterday about Simon Games announcing layoffs, which is a huge Singaporean board game company. And I wasn't familiar with Zombicide, their popular game, but the thing that really blew my mind here is that since 2012 they run 60 Kickstarters for $108 million.
Yep.
These guys have made $100 million on Kickstarter.
Yeah, Zombicide's a popular game.
They have a lot of IP.
Mm-hmm.
They have a Song of Ice and Fire tabletop game, Dune. They got a lot of licenses. Bloodborne, Stranger Things. Yeah, this is their Amazon page. But yeah, they were having some financial trouble, and they're blaming the tariffs or the tariff instability with the situation. Right. And I don't really know what this means, but they have a lot of Kickstarter board game projects that they have yet to deliver. And this is the reality of one Kickstarter, in that, whenever you give your money to someone on Kickstarter, you're paying them for something they may never provide you for. And to just crazy uncertainty in the market right now.
Yeah. Well, there's actually, I can't remember the name of the company. There's a small board game company that has actually filed a lawsuit against the government on the tariff issue. Not that I think they expect to win a lawsuit, but it's a way to draw attention to the problem that the tariffs, with the fact that there is no way really to produce all the things you need for a board game in the United States. Um, so much of this stuff is produced in China and overseas. The die cut cardboard, plastic miniatures, all the bits and bobs that you need to go into a board game. So this tariff thing is really damaging the board game industry. And I was just listening to a podcast the other day by a pair of guys that own a game store, and who also used to work for a Games Workshop back in the day. And they were talking about how, what's probably going to happen is you're going to see a big monopoly on the board game and tabletop industry. There's two major companies, Asmodee, who puts out Fantasy Flight, and AMG. Fantasy Flight does a bunch of board games. AMG does like Marvel Crisis Protocol and the Star Wars tabletop games. And Asmodee is probably the one company that has enough money to survive this tariff thing. So if it continues for long, you might see Asmodee gobbling up smaller board game companies, buying them out. And likewise, on the tabletop side, it's likely that Games Workshop, because they're the only ones who have the capability to really survive this storm. If it continues, Games Workshop might be borrowing or buying out smaller tabletop companies.
And that's not good.
No. So what you're likely to end up with, this is what they were explaining, you're likely to end up with two very large monopolies, one over the board game space and one over the tabletop space.
I think they should not do that.
No, please. So we try to keep it like fairly apolitical here, because that's not the point of the show. Every so often I let people know where I stand on things, just so no one gets the wrong impression about me. And every so often I get comments like, "Oh, there shouldn't be any politics in this place," right? It's mostly a certain kind of person who says that. Hey, politics has inserted itself into this space once again. And it always comes from the same side that threatens to destroy this very hobby where you're trying to escape into fantasy because people don't like your problematic views. Political rant over.
Yeah. I don't really know what to say about the situation other than I hope that it all goes away and we find out that it was just a dream. That's what I'm putting my money on. This is all a dream.
Yeah. All the big excuse. All the biggest.
There you go.
All the big excuse to upset the stock market, make a bunch of people who already have money, a lot of extra money, and then it'll all settle down. That's, I think, our most likely scenario.
Probably. Anyway, so moving on to heading back up the roller coaster. Hey, you out there watching, are you subscribed to the Landlocked Warlocks? If you're not, you should be, because you get Casual Friday. You also get really cool stuff like
Nacho, go get Daggerheart. After this episode, go get Daggerheart. You can. We can't. Go get it.
Yeah, Nacho, apparently Daggerheart is loose in Oceania. Can you confirm and get back to us? What was I talking about? Oh yeah, if you're not subscribed to Landlocked Warlocks, you should be, because we do awesome stuff. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Not only do we do this Casual Friday almost every single week without fail, but we also do other fun stuff, like we do actual plays. We've done half a dozen or so on this channel, and we don't, shove like a 4-hour episode down your gullet every single week. That would be cruel. And then we very conscientiously only do them about once a month or so, because we want to respect your time. Obviously. Also, just like a couple weeks ago, we watched a bunch of clips of classic D&D television material, and we riffed on it, like Mystery Science Theater, and it was very, very fun. And you can catch that whole video on this channel. Anyway, what do you guys up to? What do you guys got going on? Anything you want to promote or anything cool?
Well, I just finished up the collab. I think are we all a part of the collab with Mr. Welch? I just finished up my video for that. So he's in the chat, or at least he was. I'm not sure how much we're allowed to say about that, but that's coming up soon.
Yeah. Glenn did this last year. He got 50 people. I got 10 people together, and oh boy, dude, I regret that at moments. He's wrangling 50. But yeah, I don't know if we can get into like the theme and what it all is about, but he did a similar thing last year, and it was awesome. So make sure you're following Mr. Welch for when that pops.
Yeah.
Also, Brad took my idea, but I gave it to him very graciously.
You did. Thank you. Thank you.
I now have beef with both of you. Talk all you want. It's no secret. Hey, all of your favorite YouTubers are talking about their favorite official published adventures. Over the years, not necessarily just TSR and WotC. There's a lot of bangers on that list. From the content creator side and from the adventure side. There's a few, there's a lot of, I'm actually looking forward to that one big time. It was cool to participate in it. I'm looking forward to seeing it because there's some great people talking about some cool stuff. I'm pumped. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for making that happen. Also, I'm so sorry.
So essentially it's going to be like a top 50 favorite adventures, right? So if you're looking for good adventures to steal from, check out this video because there's going to be all sorts of recommendations on what our favorite adventures are.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the second half of the show. On our Creators Corner, we're going to talk about hatching dragon hooks. I wrote that down a couple days ago, and I kind of forgot what it was. Can one of you tell me what we're talking about next?
We're going to play a game. So I
got dice.
You got dice?
I got a book.
All right. So I've got your book, Ryan.
This book, that book. I could share it on the screen too if people want. But yeah, we're gonna roll up.
So what are we doing? What are we doing here?
All right. So we're gonna roll a random location encounter on one of these charts out of Ryan's cool book here, and then we're gonna spitball ideas of how to connect that to a dragon. So we're going to just take a random idea and work it backwards and make it draconic. That's the plan. See how creative can we be in the next few minutes.
I'm gonna do the honors. Unless you have an idea in mind, I'm rolling a D100.
Do it.
I got 70, which is noble.
So you rolled noble. Yep. So you rolled noble, right? So now we need the character background. So we're making a player character.
What page am I on? I've got the compendium.
You are on page 89, which is a page 90 in the PDF probably, because if it counts the cover.
102. Oh no.
It's alphabetical, which doesn't always help in my brain, but.
Noble?
Noble.
Okay, just so the people at home can play along.
So now the idea here is to steal these and or use these and put a draconic spin on it. So we're making up a player character, or do we want to do an NPC? What should we do?
Let's do an NPC. Let's do like the quest giver sort of vibes.
All right. Yeah, let's do an NPC. So Ryan, roll our D20. What we got there?
This is fun. I'm never on this side anymore. 14.
14.
Defend the land against encroaching evil.
Okay, well that sounds easy. Is the encroaching evil a dragon? Is it that simple, or do we got to put a spin on this?
It can be that simple. Maybe we don't know it's a dragon. Yeah, maybe we don't know it's a dragon yet. D12, 11. What happened to this quest giver? Or an arranged marriage that they are fleeing from.
Ooh. So
all right, I'm getting the reverse princess vibes here.
I don't want to marry that dragon.
All right, and what do we got under D8?
Doop doop doo 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 doop doo 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 doo. Are there not D8s in the show? Here we go. 4.
From black sheep to the greatest of their house. Okay.
Okay. So
That
they went
fits with
from
the last one very well.
right. So they went from the black sheep to the greatest of the house. So they were all proud of that until being the greatest of the house meant they got betrothed to someone they didn't want to marry.
Ooh, I love that. Friendly
Yeah.
faction Silver Mains, veteran knights from various houses who meet to share drinks and stories. I like it's like a VFW for adventurers.
So that was
Greybeards, I get it. It's Silver Mains. That was number 1.
on your D4, right? Now you're rolling your D6.
Mhm. D6. I got a 1 as well. Steed Chapeau, distant cousin who grew rich, captaining a merchant vessel, or so he claims.
All right. So how are we going to fit that in here?
The cousin got him out.
Okay, the cousin's the one who smuggled him out of the
Yeah.
nation to get him away from this arranged marriage. All right, and then what's last here? The object.
See, I might, if this is an NPC quest giver, I might scale it up to like level appropriate, but I did roll a 3. The Lordly Band allows the telepathic sending of a short message to any known creature 3 times daily. So that's perfect, actually. Quest giver gives you this like thing here. Check in with me.
Oh
Don't
yeah.
steal or abuse my magic item.
Okay.
Wink, wink.
What about this? So we have our guy who was the black sheep of the family, but figured his life out, straightened up, became the pride of the family, got access to the family historical archives, and realized there's some encroaching evil. And then he finds out he's going to be betrothed to some woman from a faraway land. And he realizes, based on the ancient text, that she is this encroaching evil. Or he believes that she's this encroaching evil, and then we tie it to a dragon somehow. Like he's got to get out because, like, if I stay, I have to marry her, and it's going to doom because of this ancient prophecy.
So what if, was it a cousin? Is that who smuggled him out? Is that what it
Yeah.
said? Yeah. So what if this cousin who smuggled him out is the dragon, and the cousin was the one that pointed him to those ancient texts that helped him figure all this out? But really, the cousin is the dragon manipulating both of these nations to go to war over this failed, union, this failed marriage that was supposed to unite these two countries. And, the dragon's going to thrive off the chaos that these two nations go into war.
I love this concept of like, oh no, your bride is Tiamat, right? And it triggers all of this, like hiring of adventurers, all of this violence. And in fact, it's the machinations of some sort of dragon, like devoting all of this carnage to Tiamat in some underhanded way. And I love the heel turn. It's always good. Just like, oh yeah, you were serving the dragon the whole time. Like you thought she was Tiamat? She's lovely. She's a lovely girl. What's the matter with you?
I think that works. That's pretty buttoned up. How do the players get involved? How do the PCs hear about this?
Maybe they're on the boat, right? At the very beginning, like when the players are level 1, they're just on the boat and they meet this guy, and he's aloof and he's distracted and he's stressed out, and they just meet this guy, and maybe they save his life when the boat gets attacked. Like maybe that's like your first encounter. There's like a giant octopus attacks the boat, and and that's just the setup. And then later on, you keep bringing this guy back now that he has an affection for the players because they saved his life from the octopus. And then you just keep feeding him information. So it's kind of the quest giver is the bad guy, but not really, because both the quest giver and the players are getting played by the dragon who's polymorphed into this guy's cousin.
Mm-hmm.
It's a twist inside a twist. I like it. Here's a dungeon master hack. If you put a map in front of the players, they'll start poking at stuff. They're going to interact with the game differently. If you explain the scene, you're on a boat, how did you all meet? versus like smack. Here's the map. Oh, I'm gonna start poking around in these crates and barrels, obviously, because I just got bored hearing about this character's backstory. What's in here? Oh, it's a dude. You found this dude. He has a magic ring and a whole adventure for you. Whoa, cool. Who would have thought? I did the whole time because that's why I gave you a map, guys.
Yeah, that's the best part about being a DM is when, you know, the players start poking and prodding and messing with the world, and instead of fighting it, and instead of them messing, actually messing anything up, you just, whatever they're poking at, you just insert plot hook here, right? And when you can pull that off, it makes you look like a pretty masterful game master, for sure.
Yeah, I love doing that stuff.
Yeah, anytime you can retroactively provide an answer for something that was a question before. And then the nice thing about being a DM is you have that time in between sessions. So if you don't know what's going to happen, end on that cliffhanger, and you can always figure it out later. That's what time in the shower and walking the dog and doing the dishes and working in the garden. That's what that time is for, thinking about your campaign, nothing else.
Oh. Well, and that's how I started watching YouTube D&D videos, 10 years ago, because I was just fishing for ideas. Like, I'm thinking about my campaign. While I'm thinking about my campaign, I'm taking the dog for a walk. I'm going to put on who's this Matt Coville guy? I'll check him out. Right. And that's how it all started.
More and more, I've been taking like micro prep sessions or whatever, but like I will get up, be like, all right, I'm gonna fill my drink. You guys talk for a minute. I'm gonna go think about what's about to happen next. I don't say that part out loud, but it's like, oh, I'm gonna fill my coffee. I'm gonna hit the bathroom real quick, whatever. Sometimes just like physically moving. Like Brad just said, he was walking around thinking about it. Like physical motion can sometimes get the blood pumping, get the creative juices flowing again. You sit still for 2 hours, you start to sink into your seat and get dumber and dumber. So like just moving around a little bit and thinking, all right, like here's what I got, here's what I need them to do. How does that fit together somehow in a semi-convincing way?
Yeah. Nacho says you just ran a session with a map of Neverwinter and a random table. Random tables can be fun to mess around with for sure. And I say do stuff like this. Do stuff like Nacho is talking about. Just put yourself in a situation to stretch your game master muscles. Like, if you don't have a specific, adventure you're in the middle of right now, try to make a 5-room dungeon 10 minutes before your players show up, right? Throw yourself into those kind of situations and see how creative you can be under pressure. Give yourself like we just did, just a little game to play. All right, I'm going to use this random set of tables and I'm going to make it fit some sort of Dragon Week idea, right? Just exercise those creative muscles.
What's that? Was it the Alexandrian, Justin Alexander, who blogged once about opening up his session notes and all it said was goblins in funny hats ? And he thought he had session notes and he's like, oh, and so he ran goblins in funny hats. I was thinking about that earlier today. Like, what would it be like to sit down with absolutely 100% zero prep and just do an entire session, like building PCs in the adventure, everything 100% randomly with just random rolls and improv. It was kind of terrifying and also exhilarating.
Jim, give me page 2, because page 2 is just plot hooks. Or give me the next page on the noble, and I'm gonna roll a d20.
Oh yeah.
And like, how would we make an adventure out of 14? It's cocked, but I'm gonna say it's 14.
The demon was trying to infiltrate the court because the rival devil secretly already has.
Woo.
So based on our guy, our runaway groom guy.
It could be that, could be something totally different.
Let's
Demons
do something.
and devils and dragons.
Yeah, let's do something totally different. Let's go ahead and create a whole nother idea just based off this one roll. All right, so you got Game of Thrones style court, but the Lannister is a devil and the Stark is a demon. And then how are we going to muck it all up with a dragon?
Well, one of them thinks they have an ally in a dragon who's going to come to their aid, but the dragon is obviously playing their own angle. Like the demons made a deal with a group of blue dragons to aid them, but the devils are also seeking deals with the blue dragons at the same time.
I like that. And now we have 3 factions that are, all trying to play each other, and the players have to figure out, okay, whose side are we on? Right? So that now you've got this like opposite corner, opposition where, as the players push back against the devil, now you can maneuver, the demonic forces around your campaign. They push back against the demon, then you can maneuver the devil's forces around the campaign, keeping them back in your mind. What's the dragon doing during all this, right?
Maybe that's like it's like a tiefling dragonborn. It's like, how did this happen? It's like, don't ask. Is there canon, like Forgotten Realms canon at least, or like Greyhawk canon of how dragons interact with like the Blood War? Do they take sides? Tiamat's in Avernus, right?
Yeah,
Was she trapped there.
Yeah, Tiamat's imprisoned in Avernus, so she's
got beef. Right?
She has a front row seat to the Blood War and doesn't want to be there. But yeah, that could also be a way. So, maybe there's a tipping point, right? That the dragons are looking for a tipping point in the Blood War in order to get in there and free Tiamat. Like if the dragons help the demons enough that the demons actually make real progress in the Blood War, then the devils now are going to have to fall back, regroup, refocus their efforts against the demons, and that's going to open up a window for the dragons to get into Avernus and free Tiamat. Now we're at high level play. This is like level 15 shit.
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of dungeon masters like twist themselves into pretzels trying to achieve this like complex, morally gray thing, and everybody's evil and the world's gonna die and all your stuff's in the world, so you can be as evil as you want. You still have to do the right thing. That's my fastest route. That's my hack to get in there. Just like, it's bad all the way down. Pick a side, but whoa, it's not good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I learned that years ago from playing war games, right? Is that when you build a war game, right, nobody's the good guy, because you want an excuse for every side. If I build this army and you build that army, we want an excuse for our armies to go to war with each other, right? So everyone's a bad guy. And if you build your world that way, your players can be murder hobos and still turn out to be anti-heroes.
Indeed.
It's kind of a pressure release valve. Because a lot of the standard books, like my experience was like, heroic fantasy. Clearly, my friends and family will be heroic and good guys. Wait, they're all assholes. What's going on? How do I do this? And I think that's a common experience.
Yeah. All right. Anything else we want to say about our dragon hooks? Thanks, Ryan, for offering your Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation to allow us to generate some ideas. Very handy tool. Brad's right, fastest, blow up everything. Yeah. I'm playing in a high level campaign, and we just decided this week to not close a Far Realm portal because it would be extremely inconvenient for us to do so. And it's not really going to be a problem for like 100 years. So we were like, that's not our problem. Murder hobos be murder hoboing. All right, so moving on to the next thing. I just had an idea the other day when I was driving around that I wanted to share. I had an idea about fermented health potions. So the idea would be that you have somewhere a merchant has a stock of health potions that they discovered in a musty basement that are very old, like the bottles are out of fashion. That's how old the health potions are. But someone tried one and they're incredibly powerful, like 4d8 plus 4 base healing. There's something ridiculous, like extremely powerful health potions, but each one has a different level of fermentation, so it could have some kind of effect. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Let's bounce it around.
No, I dig this. This is a cool idea. So, I'm assuming we're going to make a random table of like
Right.
crazy side effects, right? And then, so it could be, multiply, right? So you double the result on the dice, or
Mhm.
you double the number of dice. But then there's other stuff where like it lowers your constitution score, or lowers your charisma because now you stink like rotten eggs because this thing you just drank just won't let you stop belching up these nasty belches, right?
That's interesting. One potential side effect being like the belching would give you maybe disadvantage on stealth checks.
It's like you have disadvantage on charisma because you're insufferably talking about kombucha all the time. I mean, fermented health potions all the time.
Heyo.
It's also giving like collector's item, like antique, like Coke bottle, like, oh, these might be more valuable as like a commodity even than a consumable.
Can I show you my classic health potion stock in the back?
No, that's great. I like that. That way they're actually worth more money than the effect, would actually give it value just because it's a collector's item, right? So when the players collect these, it's like, well, we're still in the dungeon and we really need to use one of these. Do we go ahead and do it? Or do we suck it up and try to get out of this dungeon so we can sell these bottles off? Like that,
Right.
That's another way of giving players choice, right? Like
Yep.
these things are worth a ton of money if we get them out of here. But if we don't drink one or two of them, we might not get out of here.
Somebody remind me, does 5e have rules for intoxication, or is it just you're poisoned for?
It's just poison,
I think so.
Which is kind of a cute thing, like interaction with like dwarves don't suffer from poison the same way, which means a dwarven ale in my brain is like, woo, very strong. Shoot. Maddie P did like a good house rule I was about to make an offensive joke about Australians maybe, and I don't want to piss off half of our audience, but no, New Zealand's not the same thing. Maddie P made a drinking house rule setup, and it is good.
I know the monk, the drunken master, has. Do they have to actually consume alcohol? And I know in Baldur's Gate 3, you drink, if you're a drunken master monk, you can bonus action drink a bottle to get tipsy. But I don't know. I never played a drunken master monk or seen one played in 5e at an actual table.
I haven't either. It's been so long since I read that subclass. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I showed you guys the. Where is it? That was going to be cool. I was going to reach back there and go and come right back here. But my Robotech book that has an entire page about alcohol and drug withdrawal. Wild. Yeah, Kiwis and Aussies, not the same thing.
It's a lot like the Blood War.
Exactly. When I moved to Australia, all the Australians made fun of New Zealanders' accents so hard, I couldn't hear the difference at first. I was like, I don't know what you're making fun of. But after a while, yeah, very different, very completely separate accents. Anyway, so I suppose if we're done talking about fermented health potions, we can move on to the next thing. Which this tickles me a lot. I saw an ad on Instagram the other day for Mythical Meats, Dungeons and Dragons meat sticks.
Thanks, I hate
it. So I kind of make this a little bigger. No, but it comes with a pack of a dozen for the classes, and there's some pretty exotic crap in here, like camel. venison, alligator. The rogue gets alligator. Turkey, the wild boar. There's all kinds of. There's duck. It's not just Slim Jims. This is obviously very upper crust Trader Joe's kind of Slim Jims. And go ahead, Brad.
So is it the Paladin that has camel meat in it?
The Paladin has barbecue style camel and beef.
Oh, I gotta get that and just send it to my friend Dave. Back when we were like, I don't know, high school playing Dragonlance, after we beat the big bad and we're coming out of the dungeon and we have to find a way to get home, his wizard summons a mount for us to summons mounts for us to ride back on. And of course, the way he role played it is like, well, I mean, I can't summon a horse, but I can summon a camel. And of course, player Brad knew that Dave was full of shit, but my character didn't. So my knight has to ride back into town on this camel, and it was this big joke, and it was, and it became this ongoing thing. So Paladin camel meat is just that's perfect.
So what Brad was just saying, when he saw this, he thought of his friend Dave, right? And so Mike says, just get the meats without the D&D tie-in and save money. Well, from Teos Abadia, YouTuber and podcaster, he talks all the time about D&D baloney. Mm-hmm. As sort of an example of the commercial, because there was D&D branded bologna in Spain or something. Well, this is D&D bologna. This is D&D meat sticks. And now, what you definitely would not buy a pack of these and sit at your couch at home alone and eat them. And that's not what these are for. These are for, you buy a pack and you take it to your D&D group and you have a chuckle about it, and you give the bard stick, and the barbarian stick, and then everybody likes you because you brought stuff to game night. That's what they're for. They're for sending, like Brad's going to send one to his friend Dave. That's exactly what it's for. When they talked about D&D being under-monetized, I'm fine with this. Yeah. My Blue Sky profile picture is a picture of a D&D waffle maker. I randomly saw that in the wild like last year. I took my son to it was like some Japanese curio store, Hello Kitty and all that crap that kids like. Well, they had a D&D waffle maker in this Hello Kitty store, and I was like, okay. And I'm in favor of that. I don't think that hurts anybody. Slapping D&D logo on bologna, and if people see the D&D logo on bologna, maybe they think about D&D more, they get okay with D&D, and they're more likely to play it. So like D&D meat sticks are dumb and a waste of money, but they indirectly bring people to the hobby.
Or at least give WotC a way to make some extra money that doesn't cheapen the game. Right?
Yeah, more meat sticks, less microtransactions. That's right. Our
my issue with this is the only flavor to class alignment I agree with is sorcerer. Like, I take umbrage with just about every other choice they've made here. Like, I would rearrange. I've never thought about what kind of jerky a bard is, but it isn't buffalo style chicken and beef. Like, that's the Hawaiian. That's like the clerics got Hawaiian teriyaki. That's the bard. Like, yeah. I disagree with all of these, except for sorcerer gets habanero. Sure, yes, good. Otherwise, come on.
We know the bard's probably a vegetarian.
Well, the druid, right?
Yeah, the druid is definitely a vegetarian.
You're putting wild boar on the menu, and it's not the ranger? Like, what are we doing? What are we even doing? What are we talking about?
Well, so maybe there's a business opportunity, custom classes for sticks. They'll take the sticks out and put them in the packages you want for an extra fee.
I once made my own jerky, and my buddy said, "You should get, this is delicious. You should make your own company, Doyle's Meat Candy." And I think about that once a quarter.
Doyle's Meat Candy. That's pretty funny. All right, so moving on. How are we doing on time? We got a little bit of time left. I want to do a
Chapter
real
2?
quick. We will get to Dungeon Master Guide Chapter 2, I promise. We'll save some time for it. but I want to do a real quick show and tell. I bought my son this dumb little 3D printed dice tower. It comes apart. These just I don't want to pull them apart, but it's a pain to get them in. But so I just got this dumb little dice tower, and I just want to show some dice. Click clack, yay!
It's satisfying. It's good.
Hey, Brad, this is why I was asking you about paints, because I think I want to paint this thing.
Oh yeah.
I think I want to paint it. I'm not into painting, never been into painting, but I might dip my toes and buy a little thing, and then I want to paint this to look, because it just looks like, you know, it's just generic 3D printed plastic, but I want to make it dark in the cracks, you know, I want to learn how to do all that shit.
Yeah.
Stuff, sorry, excuse me.
What did you roll? Chat demands answers.
Oh, I didn't look at it. Let me roll it again.
We need
That
numbers.
is a 9, 16. It's a 24 on a few different dice.
What did you roll? As in, what dice did you? You got a 24.
I've got a D10, a D20, a D8, and a D6. It was about 60 seconds before the show. I was like, oh crap. And I ran into my son's room and grabbed this. And then I just grabbed a handful of dice that were right there.
One additional Dragon Week shout out to Salty Nick's Tavern. I don't know the dude, but he's a friend of a friend. Just started on YouTube. It's calligraphy. Like I can barely write my name. So like, first of all, it blows me away. What are dragons anyway? His dragon video is like 3 or 4 minutes long, and it's that dragons should not play fair. They roll D24s. If it's an ancient dragon, they roll a D30. And yes, everything 20 and above is a crit. And I was like, that is the smartest thing I've heard in a very long time. Groundbreaking, innovative. Go check out Salty Nick's Tavern. Get in on the ground floor. Kids going places.
Cool. Well, you heard it here. All right. So the next and probably last thing we're going to talk about is let's do a little more dragon discussion on our way out. Yeah, everybody's got nice things to say about Nick. Let's talk about how you make dragons epic, about how you make them intimidating and charismatic and a big force. And one of the things that I like to do this with any big bad or anybody I want to leave an impression, but I always try to think about the 5 senses.
So, like we go and we count how many people there are. That one.
Senses. The 5 senses. Or 6, if you, according to some people, the truth is out
Vibes.
there.
Vibes. Vibes is a sense. So, I use it all the time as a dungeon master. Give them the vibe.
So when you're describing a dragon, I think I like to. One of the things that I actually do sometimes when I'm running an in-person game is I'll take a sticky note and write, sight, touch, taste, smell, feel, and put that actually on the corner of my DM screen, or I've done it on my computer monitor, because just having those words there, I'll forget the 6th sense.
We both tapped at the same time. We're vibing.
When a dragon flies in, talk about the whoosh of air from the wings. Talk about how conversations drown out because of the thump, thump, thump. Talk about the change in temperature just from being close to a breathing dragon, 300 feet away, and it's warmer because that dragon is breathing in this direction. Those kind of things. Engaging the senses is what gets inside players' skin, not just saying like it's big, like it's real big, like real big. That's not as effective as that you all of a sudden you're standing in shadow, and then the shadow spreads and spreads and spreads, and now the entire courtyard is engulfed in shadow. That's also saying that the dragon is really, really big, but it's better.
Yeah.
So what do you guys do to make dragons epic?
Well, one thing, I use miniatures, right? So I'm trying to build a collection where I have one of every color. I'm getting there. But I have dragons that are, that sit on like a huge or gargantuan base, right? And so, you keep it under the table and you just do what Jim just did. You describe all the things, and then you set this massive miniature down on the table. That's one way that I rely on my miniatures to help me kind of create that tension and that drama when a dragon appears. Another thing I do is I use dragons fairly often. I would say probably at least 2 per campaign, and I intentionally use them at higher CR than I should for my group. So the dragons are always more powerful, right? That's the idea of like rolling a D30 instead of a D20. I always make my dragons more powerful than they should be for the challenge rating that the player level dictates, so that my dragon battles are always very difficult, and that sticks in my players. So it's a little metagamey, right? Because they're not playing the same characters they played last campaign, but they remember the 2 dragons they fought last campaign and how hard those were. So as soon as you start describing those senses, like Jim was talking about, and teasing that dragon is overhead, the players tighten up. They're like, oh shit, it's gonna get real.
I do the same thing with giants too. I've actually done it more with giants than dragons, but a big old bad guy could just pick up a PC and throw him. Oh, you're talking shit? Oh, does a 29 hit? Yeah. Okay, cool. You're grappled. Woo! Now you're 400 feet away. Roll some d6s. How many you got? And that makes an impression. I'm also a big fan. Like even so, spoilers, an adventure that is a big favorite of mine that Brad is going to talk about soon in Glenn's video. I have the dragon breath weapon, an important NPC, and it's like 60 points of damage or something insane, and they're level 1, and like that doesn't count as far as the breath recharge goes. That's a freebie. He's got another one locked and loaded. You can tell because it's coming out of his nostrils. There's another one on the deck. You guys want to roll initiative, or what? Are we still talking? What are we doing?
Yeah, telegraph that power of the dragon, right? Just like you would telegraph a trap, right? Let the players know that this dragon battle is not going to be a balanced encounter. Like I don't think dragons should ever be a balanced encounter for the CR of the players. It should always be a challenge. And then going back to your video, Ryan, from Dragon Week, the foreshadowing, like, and my video about like the impact of the dragon on like the local economy, on the local governments. Like the players should hear about this dragon well before they ever see it, right? People are scared of this dragon. People sing songs about the dragon. The government is taxing people more heavily because they're trying to build a better army, because you never know when the dragon's going to attack, right? So just the presence of the dragon affects the world around it, and you foreshadow the dragon over and over again, building it up.
I was thinking about the foreshadowing earlier today, and I was thinking a movie that does this really, really well, one that's great to learn from, is Silence of the Lambs. Because the first act of that movie, like Hannibal Lecter isn't introduced until probably 20 to 30 minutes into the movie. And the opening of the movie, Clarice Starling, she's going to go interview him, and she talks to different people before she interviews him, and everybody's like, oh my God, Hannibal Lecter, he's the worst person in the world. He ate this nurse's tongue and his heartbeat didn't, like, so before we meet Hannibal Lecter, we hear several stories about how terrible he is and how it's just horrific. So he gets built up before we meet him. And then that movie, it's Anthony Hopkins and he's super calm. So you're like, what's going on? But that's why a movie won a bunch of Academy Awards. But the point is that telling the stories before you ever meet him, like if you ever run Lost Mine of Phandelver, it's critical in that one because they don't meet the bad guy till the very last encounter. So the lore of the baddie is critical in Lost Mine of Phandelver. And any time that you can foreshadow that something intense is coming, it will set them at unease.
I also like my trick for Lost Mine of Phandelver, which I think Silence of the Lamb exemplifies, is that the real baddie is a different baddie, right? Like you're going after the black spider the whole time, but like really the stuff going on the other side of the mine that has thwarted all his efforts, those are the real big throwdown fights. You know, what you're looking for Wild Bill the whole time, but you got to go approach the most monstrous thing out there, right? Like you got to go talk to Tiamat because she's the only one who's been around long enough to know what the Lich's secret weakness is, or where the phylactery is, or whatever the case may be. So having like a bigger, badder bad guy. And I just want to circle back to Brad's awesome concept. I love the idea of like the children are playing this game, and it's like, oh, that's weird, and then it's like, oh, I get it, and then oh, that's dark. Like I love that progression. Anytime I can get it.
Yeah, that was definitely channeling the Midsommar vibes there. If you guys have ever seen that movie, right? It's all fun and games until it starts to get weird, right? That's some cool both world building and foreshadowing you can do with festivals in your games. Why do these people do all these weird things at their festivals? Well, is it because of, insert big bad here? Is it because of the dragon? Is it because of the Lich? Why are these people doing this sinister stuff? And to them seems like just normal annual festival.
Mm-hmm. Yep, your traditions don't seem weird to you, but they seem weird to everyone else. We're running out of time, so I'm afraid we're probably not going to be able to do chapter 2 of the Dungeon Master's Guide, but we will get to it pretty soon. Yeah, last time I ran Elmop, the baddie was a fire giant. I ran it into went from Elmop to Storm King's Thunder, and Black Spider was there to investigate if they could use that forge to do another thing they wanted to do. No spoilers, but the fire giant storyline in Storm Kings was all about finding a forge to do a thing. So it tied in perfectly.
Yeah,
Tribor is right there, people, and that's the best part of Storm King's Thunder. In my humble opinion.
The Forge of Fury, Ryan, that you mentioned earlier, right? There's a forge in that dungeon as well, and I've connected Lost Mine of Fendelver to Forge of Fury before, and making the bad guys from Forge of Fury, connected to the Black Spider. So, like when you finally stop the Black Spider, then you get all these plot hooks about what's going on at this other forge that's at the bottom of this other dungeon, right? And that sets you up for the Forge of Fury adventure.
For being such a beloved adventure, Lost Mine of Phandelver needs a lot of work. And they didn't really fix it with Shattered Obelisk, but that's a story for another time. We don't have time today because we're ending the show now. You are free after this. There's no after show. You're free to go do whatever you like with the rest of your weekend. And as always, you're welcome for that. But thank you for spending the time that you spent with us. More about Salty Nick. He's actually uploading his 3rd Dragon Week video. Yeah, today's the last day. So if you got a Dragon Week video, chop, get it out there right now. And so thanks for playing, everyone. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye.